Well, hi again, everyone, and welcome. This week's episode of UnAnchored Boston is brought to you by Our Best Foods, featuring our best meatballs, available at your favorite local grocer.
What about the hamburger?
Yes, of course. And we're coming up on hamburger season, Bob. Don't jump the gun because we're still in meatball season.
Oh, yeah, meatball season's still underway. For you, yeah, hamburgers for me. Okay, good.
We're also brought to you by Cold Springs RV, your destination for all things camping in where? We're in New Hampshire, of course.
Right.
And the great George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. Well, we've got a up close and personal old favorite guest right here. Bob, take it away.
No. Which one were you calling old favorite?
Yeah, just old, given how many years we've known each other.
Yeah.
Old I am.
An old favorite. Take it away, Robert.
I don't know, Mike. I don't know when you first met Alice, but she was at Channel 38 when I first met her. She was a producer at Channel 38, right?
No, I worked in the traffic department.
Oh.
Looking at inputting commercials. That was my entry level job into television.
You must have been pretty good at it because, they had you in there. We were judging for Emmys, right?
Yes. Yeah. Actually, I did get promoted at one point to associate producer of sports. And my job was going to the Bruins game and sitting in the back of the truck and calling replays. So I did advance a little bit there. But yes, you came in to judge the Emmys. It was San Francisco Emmys.
So.
I don't know what I was doing in that room because I didn't know anything about television news or what I was supposed to, think was good or bad.
Like any of us did. I mean, unless we were voting for ourselves, who would we vote for?
Right.
I came in one day and there was a stack of tapes on a table, and there was Chicago, and the other stack was San Francisco. And I said to one of the producers, "What the heck is this?" He said, "Well, we have to sit and watch all these tapes and decide the Emmys." I go, "Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Here's one winner in Chicago. Meeny, meeny, here's your winner in San Francisco right here." And that's exactly how I did it.
You didn't watch them?
No.
Oh, come on. I don't tell me. Blah, 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 blah. I hear this. I can't believe that. What if they did that? So none of the stuff that we won is any good.
Well, I mean, whatever city judge does probably watch them. I didn't. I could care less.
Mike, if you didn't watch them, then who's to say anybody else did? At any rate, Alice, we've been through so much together over the years. Channel 4, and I know, Mike, it must not have been easy to, I don't know, what were the first women? I mean,
Me.
You were.
I was the first female television sports reporter in Boston in 1984.
Oh.
Yeah. 1984, I came over and, I wasn't on air yet. I was producing the 11 o'clock sports and weekends. So the on-air stuff didn't come for a little bit, a couple of years.
We were talking about the last couple of weeks when Sports Illustrated, I don't know if you saw it or not, came out with this article that sports anchors are over and done with. Ooh. It's over. It's over for local sports anchors because what's unique about it? Well, most people know what's going on, right? Lynch going on, coming in to watch Lynch or Lobel or Cook or whoever. Everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows what happened during the day.
We were fortunate to really live in the heyday of
television
news. I mean, especially the 80s when, these stations 5 and 4 are sending their entire newsrooms down to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and they spent all this money. They spent money on salaries. And
what are you pointing at me?
Well, you had a pretty good contract, if I remember correctly. And it was just amazing back there. And then the 90s, and then it kind of really, I think, by 2000, we were already kind of getting smaller and less important. Well, because of the internet. Once that came around, changed everything.
Then everybody has phones and everybody knows what's going on in the world today. Just in case you want to know about this black guy, I probably
tell us a story about this black guy. Does the other guy look as good?
we haven't even gotten into the show, and we're doing all this background stuff. I haven't even asked Alice. Of course, she was an Olympic figure skater in Innsbruck, pair skating. How am I doing so far?
You got
the
it.
fact that I even knew.
Yeah.
Have I come leaps and bounds in my knowledge of figure skating? Know that there's pairs.
Oh my!
Almost here.
Rick Hamill.
Yeah, she was my teammate.
Yeah, she was. That was pretty.
76.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Was.
What about Peggy Fleming?
Peggy Fleming was before me.
Oh.
She won in 68, Grenoble.
She didn't seem.
So she wasn't around then. In 76, she was done.
Anyway, you never brought a lot of them by the office.
No, someone was telling me the other day that I must have been at Bill Shields' funeral or something because I've been seeing people lately because of that, sadly. And someone said, I'll never forget, you took us down to the Boston Garden and introduced us to Dorothy Hamill. She must have been in there for like a show, like Ice Capades. She skated.
How'd we miss that, Mike?
Oh my!
Wow, that was pretty nice of me.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't get that invitation. Anyway, it was. Besides, you also covered them after Innsbruck. You went to Lillehammer. We were talking. How did that work out?
Yeah, that was by far.
He went to Calgary.
Yeah.
With Pam Fletcher. No one could catch her. Remember?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Lynch was out in Calgary with Pam Fletcher, but Lillehammer, you were.
It was the Nancy Kerrigan Olympics. That's why I was in Lillehammer.
Yeah.
And the whack on the knee happened, and Bob was sent to Detroit where the whack on the knee happened, and he ended up having to spend like 4 days he was outside doing live shots for the entire country. I didn't go because I had a baby. I had two really young kids. It's like I can't just jump on a plane. So you were doing live shots for stations all around the country about, Nancy.
About nothing I knew.
Nothing.
I knew nothing about what I was talking about.
Yeah, we talked though, and I gave
you gave me some things. They would tell you, since you had to do these things for each station around the country, they'd give you the names of the anchors.
Right.
Mary and Bill or whoever. So anyway, thanks, Mary and Bill. It's good to see you. Welcome. We're in Detroit. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
It was
I'm standing outside freezing my ass off. I have no idea what I'm talking about.
Plus, it was a raging blizzard for the entire time. You were standing out there freezing in the snow. And it was like that scene out of Broadcast News where the woman has to go to like the North Pole to do live shots. She's freezing. That was you. You did a good job. Yeah. So what happened is we were not the right network. The Olympics were on, get this confused, CBS or NBC. And so Peter Brown, our news director, said, we're sending you there to, you just do your best. I said, you're sending me to the Olympics and we're not going to get credentials. We're not going to be able to get into news conferences. What do you expect me to do? And he said, I don't care if you just stand in a snowbank every day doing a stand-up talking about Nancy Kerrigan. That's enough. That's fine. Just do that. So we got there, and I took a friend of mine from the skating world, from the Skating Club of Boston, who was a coach at the world and Olympic level. I thought it would be nice to have, because I was kind of out of skating for a while by that time. Rana Gladstone's her name. She said, yeah, I'll go with you. And this is before 9/11, and we didn't have all this security. And she knew where the skaters' entrance was, and backdoor things, and where they were having dinner and what they were doing outside the Olympic. And we started bumping into like Scott Hamilton and Christy Yamaguchi and all these really well-known skaters that were there. And we did interviews, and we were absolutely killing it, while Channel 7 with John Dennis was not getting any of the stuff.
Are you smiling? It was smiling when you're saying that.
It was my favorite assignment. I call it someone in the skating world, Paul George. I think you know. He was my team leader.
Your agent.
And he said it was guerrilla reporting. And I said, I love that, like a war correspondent. And
It was.
NBC Boston was seeing we were getting all this stuff. Yeah, we were NBC. And they said, we'll give you our cell phones if we can share what you're getting with all these skaters. And it's like, well, I was there with Tom Raykamp, our sports photographer. And I said, yeah, why don't we do that? You know, I'm sure it won't be a problem.
She set me up one night. Well, I know you didn't do
With
it.
Well, so we're on a train and we called the station, and because we had to go feed tape in Lillehammer. Hamar is where the skating was happening. So it's like an hour away. And I'm on with Peter Brown and I'm saying, oh my gosh, we got, you know, Chuck Foster was the head of the skating delegation. We got this person, we got this judge. And he said, where are you right now? I said, we're on a train to go feed the tapes. He said, whose phone are you on? I said, NBC London's. And he said, who's paying for this? And I said, I don't know, probably NBC London. And so it was like,
news director, who's paying for this?
Yes. Yeah, he was worried about that. So yeah, we did really well. You know, it's after the short program, we were in the building, we bought a ticket to get in, and we snuck in where the dressing rooms were. And again, I don't know how we got past, well, there was no security. And Nancy was coming out. She had just done an interview with, you know, some kind of international satellite company. And there I am with Raykamp. I said, roll. And I stepped right in front of her with the mic in front of her.
Guerrilla reporting.
She was in second place after the short program. And she in a very good position to win. And we got this exclusive interview. And I think you guys sent Mike Dowling.
Yeah, and he had no credentials like you. He had nothing.
Yeah.
But a friend of mine was in the sporting good business and had 2 tickets, and the other ticket wasn't being used. So Dowling put the ticket around his neck, and he could into every event. But by this point, he and you had developed a pretty good relationship with Nancy's mother and father and brother. And brother.
Mike knew the brothers pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Gave him a full.
so he got the he didn't get all the skaters you got, but in terms of the Kerrigans, he got everything you got. And the funny thing was, the guy that had the credential deal got nothing. I'm still laughing.
And Dowling got to camp out at Kerrigan's house for 40 straight days, right? And
pretty much.
He did all the live shots. Bill Shields was our guy up there.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, don't make me order.
What was that like? What was? Did you get out there at all?
No, I never got that assignment. I think that was Shields the whole way.
Were you out there, Lynchy? What was that like? What was it? What was the point of going there? What were you waiting to announce?
To the driveway?
She came out and talked to the media a few times from the house.
Yeah.
Jerry Solomon, her agent, would give interviews, and her parents.
Yes. Yeah. They and it was the top of the driveway. The driveway had a little bit of a hill going down a little bit. It was always at the top of the driveway, and Nancy would come out, and you just wanted to be there to make a shot of her pulling into the driveway and going into the garage and going into the house and leaving the house and going someplace else or going working out or skating or something. And you know, it was all about presence, being there. That's what it was.
It was a huge story. I mean, that was
enormous. It had a lot. It had a
worldwide.
A lot of legs. I mean, that thing.
Not only was Nancy Kerrigan, it was the cast of characters on the other side of the fence.
Sure. Tanya Harding.
I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
Tanya Harding.
Frank
the big fat guy.
Stant. Frank Stant. Wasn't that the guy's name?
Yes, he was the one that actually whacked her.
What, you know?
Stant. Yeah, Galuli
right.
kind of organized it.
What a group, you know.
They drove from somewhere across the country to go to Dennis, where she trained.
Massachusetts.
It was no, you know where it was? Bourne. It was the Gallo rink, I think, and they found in the trash. They found scribbled notes.
That was so good.
I mean, you went through somebody's trash to find something on a figure skater?
Yeah.
Yeah, like threats. And one thing that came out of that, it was obvious that they both had bad guys kind of on their side. You know, it was the rumor had in the skating world that Tanya's people had been kind of feuding with Nancy's brothers for, not, physically, but there was something going on between, like, threats. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And
was that what your sport was all about?
no, not till then. I mean, but you know what? It put figure skating on the map like no other event could have. That the whole sport boomed.
What's wrong with you people?
Exploded. Everyone wanted to skate
people?
all of a sudden.
Whacking each other. I mean, wasn't it enough to go to the cry and
kiss and cry
room and damaging each other?
It's not a very you don't have a lot of friends in that sport because it's so competitive.
Really?
Yeah, even when you're on the ice, you're sharing the same surface and you don't want to get into the other person.
So what was it like that you had to drive as a competitor? How did you, jump in and join the fight? I mean, how tough did you have to be? How tough did you have to be to compete in that sport?
Oh, very tough, very tough. And I moved from Michigan, where I grew up, to Delaware.
East Lansing. We were talking about with Alice and I went out to lunch a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about the shootings.
Yeah.
East Lansing.
That campus was my playground growing up, and they had one of the few rinks in the entire country that was open in the summer. So skaters came from all over the country, New York, California, Colorado, to train in the summer. And we were on the ice in the summer 7 hours a day. We would start at like 6 a.m, and we had the school figures, and then we had freestyle sessions, and we had dance sessions, and we went back to, and I loved it. That's what I wanted to do. And it was just fun. And then a few years later, a pair skater from Cleveland, Bill Favre, he was the junior national champion, and he was looking for a new partner because his current partner couldn't jump. And it's important in figure skating in pairs that you can do side-by-side jumps that are hard. So, and she wasn't good at that. So he asked me if I wanted to
Let's work on that next week, Mike. We'll do the side-by-side jumps.
I'll coach you on that. So he said, come to Cleveland. I tried out, and then he called me back in Michigan a week later. He said, do you want to be my partner? Now, this is like getting a marriage proposal in the world of skating.
Really?
Because there aren't that many male skaters. For every male skater, there are probably 100 female skaters. So he had a big variety of potential partners.
Pool.
And yes.
A lot of fish in the
and
pool.
He said, here's the deal. We have to move to Delaware and train with Ron Ludington because he was the best pair coach in that country. And our training hours were 11 p.m. to 4 a.m, 6 days a week. That's when we could get the ice time, because during the day it was single skaters. If you're throwing a girl across the ice like in pairs or up in the air or doing death spirals, you can't be on the ice with people skating around. Someone would get really hurt. So I did that for 2 years, and all my friends were back home at University of Michigan and Michigan State and Northwestern and in college. And here I am. I had no social life whatsoever, except for my, few skating friends. But it's like, oh my gosh, it's like, I really don't like this schedule. And I just tried to stop and they wouldn't let me in.
Who's the greatest skater you if you had to say this is
ever?
Yeah. I mean, we have our own thoughts about this, but
favorite skater or best skater?
Well, either one. I'll take either one. I'll take both.
Well, best skater female was Janet Lynn. I don't know if you remember that name. She was from Chicago. And
she was just like,
she was
younger, right?
She was incredible. Her edging and her choreography and she was like, I was skating singles and she was my, hero. She was so good. And the school figures, once again, held her back. They counted for 60% of the score. And she was like me. She was very light and couldn't see her tracings. But she was a tremendous skater. who else would I put up there? Scott Hamilton, man. And he went through a lot physically, when he was younger, he had like a heart disease and wasn't growing.
Really?
And he was very, very good. He was especially good when he turned professional and he skated in shows. And yeah, but figure skating's pretty much back in the dumper again. If you walk down the street and say, okay, who's the women's national champion this year? No one would know that.
Nobody would know.
No.
Nobody would know. All this talk about figure skating has me really hungry, Bob. I don't know about you, but I'm starving right now.
Meatballs.
And the next time you go grocery shopping,
I want to see.
do not forget to go to the frozen food section and look for a bag of our best meatballs.
Oh.
Look for the smiling chef. It's right on the bag.
Oh, here we go.
Find great tasting meatballs for your next dinner or hot snack.
Well, I'm going to go buy these for dinner tonight.
They're the
Well,
best.
remember, our best meatballs come in a resealable bag. You can reseal it. That's perfect. Make it easy for you to store away before your next meal. And don't forget to download the money-saving coupon available online at ourbestfoods.com. And look for the smiling chef right there. We nicknamed him Pablo Bell.
Oh, you know how they got that name? Pablo. They named him Pablo Bell.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it's down in Winter Haven.
Pablo
Check in
Bell.
at the Red Sox. They didn't have a room for you, but they had a room for this guy, Pablo Bell. That's not that.
Yeah, congrats on that.
Yeah,
Do they?
good.
I can just go to Stop and Shop or Shaw's or wherever.
Yeah.
Frozen
Wherever,
food.
wherever. Just go there and you'll find them. They're delicious. Bob usually has them on a skewer in the show and he eats them. Well,
I ate them all, and I haven't replenished.
As a restock. Alice, let's go back to 1984 because for some reason that seems to be the year I remember that particularly the Celtics locker room was open to women, but the Celtics players were really furious about it, and they would stay in the shower, and the trainers and ball boys would bring all their clothes into the showers until some type of compromise was reached, where I believe they were being given bathrobes.
By Red.
Going to the bathroom. Tell me about those days.
Oh my gosh. It was horrible. Going into those locker rooms, being the only female with a cameraman behind me. It was a little different. There were like Karen Garrigan and Jackie McMullen. They were around, but it was different when you're coming in with a big old, person with a big old camera on their shoulder. And for the Celtics, I got in a scuffle with a radio guy. Should I mention his name?
Sure.
Tom Cuddy?
No, he did BC basketball play-by-play.
Ted Sarandis.
Yes.
Okay.
And that was when,
Not the first
back
person.
in the day where our microphones had those long cords and they get tangled everywhere. So we're interviewing Mikhail and Sarandis is there. And I think my cord crossed his and he said, "Have a clue, Alice. Please, really."
Seriously.
And Mikhail said, "Shut the F up." let her do her job. And I was like, from that day forward, he was my favorite player. I mean, it was just like, oh, thank you. The worst thing was my
Patriots.
the Patriots.
I hear this, Michael.
This is before Lisa Olson, because this is like 19. I think it was when I first started, 84, 85. And it was a Friday, and Alan Miller, the producer, sent me down there to talk to. They were playing the Colts, and he wanted me to get interviews with the players that played under Ron Meyer earlier in the 80s. So that was like Pete Brock and Steve Nelson. And I'm down there with Ray Camp on a Friday. There's no one else there. There's a couple of beat reporters, but no cameras. It's not a big day down there for the media. And get in the locker room, and we're just standing there. That's the worst thing when you're just standing there. And I think Jim Greenwich, the PR guy, gave me a, some kind of sheet pregame thing. So I'm staring at that. And I'm waiting for these, players to, Brock or Nelson, whoever, could talk about Ron Meyer, come out. And I'm standing there, and from the corner of this side of the locker room, I started hearing really horrible things.
I don't know.
disgusting, and was like, get out of my, I can't swear on this probably, but effing house, get out of here, you bitch.
Got it.
And screaming, and I look over.
Okay, so players called you a bitch.
And they said, then they started saying, women are only good for this and that. And they kept repeating it.
It's your players were saying it.
Yeah. So it was Stefan Starring and Stanley Morgan.
Starring.
And Stanley Morgan. Stefan was started and Stanley was chiming in. And my heart started racing. It's like I was shaking. I felt like I was going to faint. And I looked down, and that was right after the strike. And Doug Flutie was in the locker room all the way down at the end. And I knew him from covering him at BC. And he just looked at me and said, he said he wasn't going to stand up for me because he was what they called a scab at that point, and he wasn't real popular on the team. And so I did. Steve Nelson came out, and I put the microphone up, and my hand was like this, asking him the question, saying, "Hell, so what's wrong?" And I think someone said that Stefan and Stanley just went off on her, and it was really
that was
ugly.
Worst.
So we got out of there, and we called Alan Miller, and he said, "This is outrageous. We're going to put this on TV. We're going to really take those guys to the woodshed. It's ridiculous, the whole thing." And I said, I don't feel comfortable with that. Thank God, because Lisa Olson opposite, it became a huge story, and it really affected her career. And so I said, no, not doing that. And that was a Friday. So Saturday, my phone rings. Lived in Lexington, a little apartment by myself. And hello, Alice? It's Raymond Barry. I said, it's Raymond Barry. He said, he had the accent. I just wanted to tell you what happened to you yesterday was unbelievably wrong, and it will never happen again. And these players are going to be punished, and they've been talked to already, and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, well, thanks for calling. And 5 minutes later, hello, Alice, this is Patrick Sullivan. And I'm like, this is where Raymond Barry just called me. And he talked to me for these players are going to be fined. These players are big. They knew that if this became a big story, it would not have been good for them.
Anybody else other than yourself could have really blown this guy.
Yeah. And then 2 years later, it was Lisa Olson and Zeke Moet, that thing. And she, they had live shots outside the Herald, and it was hugely in the news.
You were there the night, Mike, you were there when she walked through the end zone.
Yes.
Yeah, we were all standing there at the end zone, the entrance to the Patriots locker room at the old stadium. And it was at the old stadium.
Yeah.
And she walked through the end zone, and the fans were brutal.
Awful.
And during that time, some of the fans, because they may not know, they mixed us up. I remember I was outside the Bruins locker room, and the fans, I don't know why the fans were down on that level. The game was over. We're waiting to get in. And some guy thought I was Lisa Olson, and he started saying, "You don't belong there, Lisa Olson. Female sports reporters shouldn't be doing that. You're wrong. You're a, It was like, I'm not Lisa."
What?
And
how did this all make you? How did this make you feel? Why did you put yourself at risk like this? Why? Because it was my job. It's like, and I really, the Red Sox, I had some issues in there too, and I'll name names. Dwight Evans and Jim Rice and Bruce Hurst were all over me every time I came in there, and just screaming things at me, and in general, saying bad things about women in general. And I was more nervous going into that Red Sox clubhouse than it was like skating in the Olympics. It was, seriously. I felt sick, and it was hard because as a female reporter, you're
you don't have any leeway because they're going to say, oh, she just doesn't know what she's talking about. She doesn't know about sports. So I felt like I really couldn't ask the wrong question or a stupid question or anything like that. It was really, it was scary and it was hard. And
so you had to really like tiptoe through the tulips, in other words, in asking questions.
Yeah.
And bringing up subjects.
Yeah. Bruce Hurst in Winter Haven came up to me in spring training. He said, I want to talk to you. I said, sure. And he said, I want you to know I'm Mormon and I have a huge problem with you being in the locker room. And I'm there with Comrade Camp, and it's like, well, it's my job. I mean, I'm not the first one, but I it's what my bosses tell me to do. So it's my job. I hope you can understand that. Yeah, and every time I walked in there, if he was across the way, he'd look at me and just, put a towel on himself, like, yeah, what are you doing here? And years later, at a Bob Lobel Christmas party, Dwight Evans, this is many years later, probably, he pulled me aside and he said, I owe you a huge apology. And I said, oh, what do you mean? He said, I'm sorry. I was an ass back in those days. And what I said to you and what my teammates said to you was wrong. And I'll never forget that. It was like, he's the only one that ever did.
No, I think I was surprised when you brought up his name the first time, but I've heard the story before, but I forgot that he had apologized to you. And it doesn't surprise me of all the guys that would have taken the time to apologize to you and feel badly about how he had acted. He would be one of them. He would be the one.
It really was important to me, and I really appreciated it. It was good. So, and then as time went on in the 90s, we had, Wendy Nix, and we had other reporters, Catherine Tappan, they're all coming in, and, it ended up being, as soon as we had numbers, it became better. And probably the players, I'm sure organizations were saying, okay, we have women in the locker room, but don't give them a hard time. So it became a lot better. And I think now you see almost as many women covering sports as guys. And in general, that's good.
So I think you've pretty much, you've done this. Rank them the worst dealing with the advent of the female in the locker room. Of the four pro teams, the worst.
Okay, I've done this. All right. Number one, baseball. No doubt about it. Right. And I had a theory. Well, a lot of these guys, they grew up in the South and, and maybe think differently. They're a little more conservative. I don't know. A lot of them didn't go to college. I don't know. So baseball ain't number one. And then football. And then the easiest locker room to ever go in was the Bruins. I guess that's what I want to say. They did not care. They just, they did not care. I have a Ray Bork story, but
go ahead.
Should I tell it?
Yeah, well, that depends on, what you can tell and what you can't. Why not?
All right.
There's just three of us anyway. So what difference does it make?
Bruins are playing Montreal, that big series. I can't remember what year. So they just had a huge win. And we file into the old garden, into the locker room, and we go, everyone like they do, stood around Ray Bork's locker, waiting for him to come out of the shower. And a lot of times I was in the front row because I'm short. And the cameras and the reporters behind me didn't care because they could shoot right over my head. So Karen and I are just like, all right, and we're waiting. And then he's coming out from the shower area. And he's coming to see, he's got nothing on. and there's this big, row of reporters. He comes and he stands right in front of Karen and me. Really? And we're like, okay. Leslie Visser had this line. As a sports reporter, female sports reporter, any sports reporter, you're trained to use all your observation skills. But if you're a woman in the locker room, you have to do that, but not look. So he starts, okay, so he's there and we're all jostling, first question comes in and then he looks over to the shower area. He said, hey, Eric, he was the equipment guy. throw me a towel, will you? And so this towel comes flying in. He takes it, and he had shaving cream on his face, and he wipes his face, and he throws the towel behind him. It's like, okay, what's up, guys? It was, but the hockey guys did not care.
Why? What was the culture?
Canadian? I don't know. Maybe it's never once. And they, you go in there so smelly with the sweaty pads and everything, but you saw a lot of derrieres.
A lot of what?
Derrieres.
I heard you. No, I'm kidding.
Without
Oh
cover.
my God.
Alice, with all these obstacles between personalities and clubs, did you ever say to yourself, you know what, I want to do something else? I don't know if I want to do this long term here. Did that thought ever go through your head at all?
It didn't. I had the beginning, which was really tough, and I did think about, like, do I really want to do this, because it's affecting my psyche and it's making me feel like a victim. So the 80s was bad, and then the 90s more women came in, so it felt better. And then when every team started winning in 2000 to 2010, I never thought about going anywhere, because we were covering World Series and Super Bowls, and it was fun. Going on those trips, and Red Sox winning for the first time in 82 years, whatever it was.
How about the Patriots?
Patriots,
Super Bowl.
Tom Brady comes on, and it's like, so what happened to me, it's like,
I just want to say, you and I spent the night together at the Super Bowl, but it was in
the truck.
In the truck.
Bob went to sleep on the floor because he had to get up and do the early show.
In New Orleans, when they beat the Rams, Michael.
I was in there editing the piece for him to lead when he goes on morning TV. So I felt very fortunate I had that. And I think when the station was starting to let go people in 2008 to 2010, whatever, and I thought about it. They wanted me to just work 6 months a year and come back and cover Patriots, which probably wouldn't be bad, but I really had time to think about it. It was March, and I didn't have to tell them till July when training camp started. And I just thought, I think I'm done. And, one of the things I really hated doing was that fifth quarter show. It was just.
What show was that?
The fifth quarter after the Patriots.
Fifth quarter, yeah.
You have to stand there, and all the media's gathering around the podium, and you have to talk about the game. And I didn't have anyone to interview, and I was thinking, I think I'm done. So, and it was the right decision. 25 years is.
How about the Belichick interview after that Super Bowl?
Well, you can tell that story.
Well, no, you did. She brought up.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought right there, Bob.
Yeah,
Hold that thought right there. Our guest is Alice Cook, former sportscaster at Channel 4. And let me tell you right now, if you're thinking about a new vehicle, there's only one place to go, and there's only one place only. Go where we go. Go see our friend George Gray at George Gray's Lexington Toyota. We've been customers for years because we know George Gray will treat you right. He treats us right. He treats everybody right. They're family-owned and operated dealership that we trust, and we trust them for years. And I guarantee you that you'll be able to trust them as well. Go see the great George Gray at Lexington Toyota, and you will be a friend and a customer for life. I guarantee it. All right, Robert, continue.
Good job.
They're the best. It was a Super Bowl in 2001. That was the end of the season. 2002, really. It was right after 9/11. And they beat the Rams.
New Orleans.
Right, in New Orleans. Brady had just brought them back, and they had won their first Super Bowl. And, people going. And Alice
I brought some players over.
She brought some players,
but
then she brought the gold mine over, which was Belichick. He wasn't as nasty to us as he was to the reporters today.
But he did
But he did. Yeah. He did want to make sure that Alice was doing the interview. He didn't want to talk to me. He had nothing to do with me. He wanted to talk to Alice.
He asked me
listen,
on the way over. He said, I asked him, "Can you come over to our camera right there for Channel 4?" And he said, "Who's doing the interview?"
Oh, shut up, Bill.
And I said, "Well, I am," and maybe I think I just said I am.
Yeah, you just
so
made it up. So
he came over, and Bob's right there. And Bob jumps right in with his first question.
I apologized.
And then I said, "Well, he said he wanted to talk to me." And this Peter Brown was back at the station. He said the phone lines are blowing up. Is Alice Cook going to get fired for saying that? I can't believe she just did slow bell like that.
She did. She got me good.
And the next day we're flying home together, and I'm getting calls from people all over Boston. It's like, I can't believe you said that when you brought Belichick over.
I won't forget it.
I didn't think it was. I thought it was harmless.
It was pretty harmless, but he had that smiling Cheshire cat look on his face.
Yeah. So I asked him like one question, maybe two.
He wanted nothing to do with me, but I don't blame him. I mean, seriously, I feel the same way, but I do think he's pretty rude with the media today.
Oh,
huh? How'd you like to deal with them? Seriously.
You know, when the Patriots lose, I make sure I never miss fifth quarter.
Yeah.
Because you're going to get
He's the best.
Pissy as
it's great television, and you can hear a pin drop.
Yeah.
Someone asks a question, you get the death stare.
Yep.
And then you're cringing. Oh, no. And there's always, especially when you get to the playoffs, there's some news station, usually Channel 7, will send down a news reporter.
Byron Barnett.
Yeah, Byron Barnett. Yeah, or Dan Housley. And the news director has said, "Forget those soft sports people. They ask the softball question. You get down there and ask the tough question. You'll get the answers that everyone's looking for." And I'm saying, no, you won't. No, you won't. And when they ask the question, I sit there and I go, oh, no.
I know.
Here it comes. And boom, it happens.
Do you tell your kids appreciate what you did and what you went through? And do they?
Yeah. I mean, especially my son, who was into all these sports, and he was able to come with me one day to the Bruins locker room after a game and get his pictures with Ray Bork, and he went to the Super Bowl and the one they lost in Scottsdale. He had just turned 16.
We were there.
Yeah. So they, one of them in preschool, the teacher said, "Okay, we're going to ask everyone what their parents do for work." And the teacher told me later, it was my son Brendan was a little bit of a Yogi Bear. He got words mixed up. So he's like, "My mom works in the television." That was so cute.
It is cute.
But I do have some tapes that are on VHS. I want to share with Bob soon, because what we did at those Super Bowls, you guys, all the stations with the specials and the interviews and it was really incredible. It was really good television with the Jim Murphy features, and
Jim Murphy was an editor. Passed away. He was like 44 years old.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
But that was just amazing, and so much work went into it, so many hours, and all three. I liked how the three stations were competitive, mostly in good ways, and it made all of us better. And,
absolutely. You'd go to a Super Bowl, and the press conferences would start usually at 7:30 in the morning, and you'd be going nonstop. When the 11 o'clock news finished, you'd be working until 2 in the morning because you had like some hour special the next night, and you just did. And you said, let's try to get something that 4 and 7 isn't getting. And you guys had the same school of thought as you were going. Get something that CBB isn't going to get, and it's something that Dino's not going to get. And it was great. I think the winner was the viewer in Boston. Yeah, and if the timing was right, you could maybe catch all three sportscasts. You hear that all the time from people.
That's why I brought up at the beginning about the death knell for local sports anchors.
Yeah,
it's not there anymore.
I have. By the way, I'm not going to.
Say whatever.
I watch Channel 5 now because their TV anchors, they actually send them places and they go to big stories. No one does that anymore. It's like Ed Harding goes to DC for one thing or another, or someone else went to where they had the tornadoes in the Midwest, and they actually still do like a real sportscast where you see packages.
Yeah.
And not as good as when you were there. And I missed that high five. I don't know. I thought that was genius. That was
they really cornered the market. It was a spectacular idea.
And talk about ways of getting viewers from different towns. They just, love that. And you'd never see that now, it's just so
I remember
different.
one story you did. Thanksgiving. We're talking about Thanksgiving, and that was, of course, a big deal for everybody, but especially for you guys. But, we had to compete in our own way. And I remember one Thanksgiving, you went to this kid's house for breakfast, right?
I did.
You kind of played and spent the day with him as he went for breakfast.
With his parents.
I remember this thing.
Yeah.
So these things had an impact,
It was just so much more creative. And,
Didn't you do the Ainge Bites Man? No. Tree
No,
Rollins Bites Danny Ainge story?
I don't think I did that.
For the,
I remember.
for the great 80s?
No, I did. Well, I talked to Bird about the Dantley, the shoe off between the two of them, but I don't think I mentioned that other one. But yeah, just think of like that special, the great 80s. You never see anyone do that now. It's like it's a little sad, but it's all changed. And again, you look at this new generation. I have 3 millennial kids, and they don't watch the news.
No. Couldn't name it. You could name every news anchor, every reporter, and every sports person on all 3 stations. And there'd never be, if you'd say, who's Jill Smith, and like say, oh yeah, she came, she's been there for 6 months, and blah 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 blah. Now you can't name 3 of them. I think one of the things that really hurt everybody, made everybody complacent, was COVID, when everything was spoon fed. The teams ran their own interviews with players and just put them up on the Bird, or put them on a link that you get. And then when locker rooms became available, people said, well, why should I go to the locker room when I can get spoon fed this stuff anyway? And you don't see a guy sitting down on a stool anymore and talking to somebody, or outside practice. That just doesn't happen. And then it makes it a little bit antiseptic. And I don't know whose fault it is, but it makes them all look the same.
Yeah, that's true.
We had some crazy people who worked for us. Jerry Azar, and remember him?
I don't. Was he before me?
Yeah, he's the one.
Yeah. He was before Newby, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
No, he was before Luke Tilley. Luke Tilley replaced him. Yeah, Jerry Azar.
Right. Azar brought a snake into the newsroom.
Who was the guy that broke the egg over his head?
That was
Zipper Zeppa.
He was
Zipper Zeppa on Channel 7. Channel 7 always had the person that was going to, they had Jim Kelly, they had Zipper Zeppa, they had Tim Mazzetti, the field goal kicker for the Atlanta Falcons. And every one of them was going to come in and just revolutionize how sports was covered. They're going to blow Channel 4 and Channel 5 away.
Lumi and I were listening to I told you this, Lynchy. Lumi and I were listening to the radio. I know we were over in Cambridge going to play tennis or something inside. And we were listening to Dino. He was on the radio. It might have been EEI at the time when they dominated. And Dino said, well, with Tim Mazzetti now joining us, we're going to completely own the market, dominate the sports market. And here's Numi and I sitting in the car looking at each other. He said the wrong thing at the wrong time.
It was really competitive. Do you remember? We used to have interns watch the other 2 states. You probably did it too.
Absolutely. Write it down.
Take notes on what they're doing, what there was in their, sports.
What did they do?
Section.
High Five was actually an accident. They wanted High Five to be like the play of the week, or the like if Bruce Hurst won 2 games, they wanted to give him like that they call it something else. And then, I said, these people don't care. They won't even know that they're getting the high five award. I said, why not? I said, high five. In those days, people high five each other. So I said, why don't we call it high five? But why don't and we all went through this. Every time you go to a Rotary Club or a Lions Club and you speak, and you have do questions and answers. One of the first questions is, why don't you do more on local sports? We got a great player down here in Cohasset. Oh, we get to get this great soccer player in Framingham. Oh, we got this great baseball player, in Lexington. And that was a constant theme that I would hear every time I went out to speak at one of these things. So I said to Phil Balboni, and he was always trying to get to listen, why don't you do something to make yourself distinctive from the competition? And I said, why don't we name this High Five? It's a play on words. It's Channel 5. Blah 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 blah, and let's do let's give it to a high school athlete of the week every week. And he said, okay. So the first one was scheduled for September of 1985, and it was scheduled for a Friday night. Well, wouldn't you know it, Hurricane Gloria came by that day. Mm-hmm. When hurricane happens, sports monsters just go home and turn the lights out. But I'm sitting there, and they said. They yelled up the stairs and said, Mike, you're on. I said, I didn't think we're doing sports. Yeah, we're doing sports. Go ahead and do that high five thing. So I did it on a kid named Joe Betro, a running back from Walpole. And we got the black and white film from the game, and he scored 4 touchdowns. His dad was the police chief in Walpole. And we ran it. And as soon as we finished, I went back upstairs to the sports office, and the phone's jumping off the hook. And I thought it would be people complimenting me and saying, yeah, well, you think that guy's good. Wait, you see this kid here at Acton Boxborough, but he can really run, then the phone rang. Yeah, well, you see this girl we have here in Falmouth. What a soccer player she is. What are you wasting your time with that running back from Walpole? I said, we may have something here. So let's do it next week. So we did it next week. And then, the old fashioned way, things came in the mail. People would nominate someone to be a figure skater. When I'm on Alice Cook, and there'd be a nice article would tell how she, her grades, and she's been skating since she was 4 years old, and she works at a nursing home part time, and you say, this seems like a good one right here. Let's go with this one, and that's basically how it happened, and it went all the way until even after I left when I was part time, I was doing it till about the year 2020, and then they stopped doing it. So. But it was fun. It was something different. You had Sports Spotlight, which was something that nobody else had. And you had great highlights, and and you had access to that SNS, that satellite news service. Yeah, it was great. We didn't have it, and I wished I had it. And you probably wished you had some of the high five things. And again, the winner through all this is the viewer, because if you're looking at Sports Spotlight, or if you're looking at high five, blah blah, you're getting a good variety of everything.
Any one athlete stand out in your mind? As you think about it, I mean, that's not
that I covered.
Yeah,
of course it's Tom Brady. Oh, I didn't tell my Tom Brady story. I was assigned after Bledsoe got hurt. Alan Miller, go down to Foxborough, hunt down this Tom Brady kid, and he didn't even have a locker yet, and we had the typical big crowd of media. It's like, where is he? And he came out kind of a back door, and I was right there, and I said, oh, Tom Brady, there you are. I said, my dad went to U of M. He's like, hey, cool. And I was just trying to make sure he was comfortable, and everyone did their interview. You remember this. And came back, and I didn't know that much about Tom Brady. I knew he was a 6th-round draft pick. That was about it. And he went to Michigan. And I had the tape, and I dropped it on Alan's desk. I said, I don't know how well this kid can play, but he's really hot. And he was, and still is. But
your favorite was the Philadelphia Phillies catcher.
Oh, yeah.
Hunkamunga, you called him.
Hunkamunga.
When you see him on TV, it was come on, it wasn't Darren Dalton.
Darren Dalton.
Oh yeah,
it was the Phillies catcher, and every time they'd highlight it, come on TV, and there he is, Hunkamunga.
Yeah, but look what Brady did for all these women that started watching football, and Robert Kraft had, because I kind of wanted, when I left the station, I wanted to do something that had to do with doing stories for the female sports fan that are more personal, not X's and O's, but who are they, who inspired them, all that stuff. And Robert Kraft liked the idea. He never invested in it, though. And he said, well, right now, and this is like 2008, 34% of the NFL audience are women. You know what that is now?
What, over 60?
No, like almost 50%.
That's pretty good. I'm good.
48%.
It's pretty remarkable.
And you see, I wish I would have got funding. If anyone's out there.
What about Betty?
But it's just like you see jewelry commercials now. You see these commercials when you're watching a game of women all cheering for their team and wearing the gear and
all the DraftKings and FanDuel spots prominently feature women.
Yeah, they're very important to the dollar in sports now.
It's like you made it, girl. Congratulations. Took long enough.
I had one of the great dumb lines when Tom Brady was going to start his first game. He came in relief, on the Jets game, and he was starting the next week. I think they were playing the Colts. It was September 26th, I think, in 2001. So we had the Patriots show at the time, and I said I was interviewing Tom Brady. He was sitting there, and when we get done, I said, well, this poor kid, I don't know how long he's going to last. I said, well, listen, good luck Sunday. I hope it works out for you. We'll see what happens. What a dope. Good luck. I hope it works out for you.
After the win in Jacksonville, who did they play?
Eagles.
They
played the Eagles. Yeah.
So we were getting in this pattern when we were covering Super Bowls that Steve Burton would go to the after party and do some, get some sound. I don't know. So the first 3 Super Bowls, he got the after party, and I got to go into the van editing the package for the next day.
Wasn't the worst thing in the world.
And so by the time, I think it was the 3rd Super Bowl, I knew, I said, I'm going to get this piece done in under an hour. I had it practically written in this, and then I'm getting my, into that party. I had a little dress, in my bag so I could change my clothes. And
who knew?
So I went up, and I saw Wendy Nix was in there and some other media, and the guy let me in because I think he did security in Foxborough. He recognized. I said, yeah, I haven't been able to go to one of these yet. Can you just see again? So we go in, and there's Myra and Robert Kraft. They're dancing on the stage with Lionel Richie is playing all night long. It's like, whoa. And then, the players all milling around. And I think, they were dancing. So I'm just looking around for Brady. And back in the corner, he's like hiding. He's back there with Bridget Monahan. They're just talking, and just a few people around. Then he starts walking, out toward, a busier area. And I just went up to him and I said, I just want to congratulate you on all these Super Bowls, but it's really been a joy to cover this team. And he said to me, thanks for all your help this year, Alice. I said, oh, you're welcome. And then I got a picture.
That's cool.
Picture. But that who would say something like that except Tom Brady? It was really nice, And for me, it was like he realizes that reporters, they have their job too, and it's not easy all the time, and we're important to the players because we're telling their stories.
Yeah. He's one of the best. I mean, he turns the conversation around to you, like that. The perfect example you just said right there. Thanks for all you did for us this year, Alice. And you're probably saying stuff. I don't recall blocking anybody, attacking anybody.
I didn't even know what to say. Like, oh, you're welcome.
Yeah. But I'll walk in the locker room. Usually, I look like I just came off the golf course. Like a golf shirt, shorts on. He'll say, "What kind of irons are you using, Mike?" I said, "Well, I don't know, Callaway, something like that." I'm thinking of like, and now he's messing up my train of thought. I've got three questions I want to ask him. Yeah, he said, "How far do you hit your 8-iron?" You know, and I said, "I don't know, 150 yards, something like that." But he's always turning the conversation around, and he still is like that. You know, he's still to this day will go over and take his tray in the team dining room or cafeteria, and if there's a player that just got traded to the team or just made the team as a draft choice, he'll sit down and have lunch with them or breakfast with them or whatever, and make them feel included. And I think that comes from his parenting. You know, his mom and dad are a big influence on his life. And I think that's
right. Yeah,
that's where it comes from right there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to ask you one final question, Alice, right after we get this Cold Springs RV right here. Camping season's right around the corner. And if you're thinking about a new motorhome or a pop-up camper, go visit our friends at Cold Springs RV in where? New Hampshire, of course. At Cold Springs RV, you'll find a huge selection of the latest and new and pre-owned campers for you to choose from. If you want to check out the great deals today, simply go to coldspringsrv.com. That's coldspringsrv.com. So, Alice, we've got John Madden had the Madden Cruiser. They're still under construction. We're gonna have a Lobie Cruiser that we're gonna ride around in. So you can ride cross country in a Cold Springs RV vehicle. Who do you want to ride cross country with? Coach or player? That you covered.
Well, maybe sportscaster, for crying out loud.
Yeah, you know, I thought she might have had enough of you, but you know, maybe
we could.
Who would be fun? I guess I'm thinking right away. Maybe Kevin McHale, because he's just tapped and he's funny and he
was good.
Yes, he'd be fun to.
No, he was good. He was really good.
Just joking around and yeah. First in mind, then Bob.
Like that.
And Lynchy.
She comes from that Midwest, McHale, Minnesota.
Yes.
Michigan.
We're both Midwest.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well, that's a good one.
Bob's being from Ohio. Lynch is from Massachusetts. You know that.
Yes, I did know that. And he played football for Harvard.
And baseball. Don't forget baseball.
Yes.
Don't forget baseball.
So here's a question for you. Who's the better athlete, sports reporter in Boston? Is it the Olympian or is it the guy that played football and baseball for Harvard? I think Dan Shaughnessy once said the best athlete in Boston.
Well, who would you say was the best? I think Joan Benoit was probably one of the best.
No, I mean people that worked at local TV stations.
No, in that case, I don't
know.
know.
Lynch, you see, he's got that's pretty big up there. You know, Harvard.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, when you're here once a week with him for the last 4 years, here once a week, it's all you got.
Who else? Harvard athlete that was on TV. Oh, there's Burton. He played, for Northwestern.
Northwestern, yeah.
There's an endless streak of Burtons.
Yeah. Yeah, family.
The Burtons are all over the place.
They have the genes, man. Whoa.
No kidding.
He's got a daughter in the WNBA and the son, Austin, who's been in college for like 8 years.
I know. In 8 different colleges, too.
Another daughter that's really good at basketball, Ron, youngest. And then, he played football in Northwestern. His wife was on the swim team there.
Kidding, yeah. I know. What can you tell? Those are good genes.
Yeah.
But you did a great job, Alice. Thanks.
That was fun.
That's good, huh?
Yeah, anytime now.
It took us long enough to get you here.
Yeah. I'm not that far away.
Yeah, Lynch,
you got to go deal with the cable company, huh?
Yes, I do.
Well, tell us the problem right now, because we may be able to help you. Who knows?
Yeah. Call us up. We're both very good.
All my TVs are frozen on screen shots.
Who's your company?
Xfinity.
All right.
Yeah, we'll call with some advice.
And it was bad timing because I was all psyched yesterday morning to watch a marathon, and I turned my first TV on. It's like couldn't get a channel.
So
Then I
anybody you
moved
didn't
from
get
the-
along with, Alice?
Mm,
Come on. Is there anybody?
not that I can think of. Maybe one person. I shouldn't name names.
You shouldn't? Why? You already did. You already named a lot of names.
Yeah, that didn't get along.
Oh, well.
No, I got along with everyone.
Yeah, okay. Let's not go with that can of worms.
All right. Well, Alice Cook of Channel 4 has been our guest. It's been a fascinating conversation. Trip down memory lane. And Lobel tried to get fresh with her, and she gave him a right hook. That's why he has the black eye.
Yeah,
And,
you know what? Here's 3 people that got fired from this business. What was that like?
Well, those people that fired us didn't know what they were doing, obviously.
Obviously.
But yeah, whatever.
All right. Well, Alice Cook has been our guest. It's been spectacular, Alice. Don't be a stranger. Come back again. And let us know how things work out with Xfinity. All right?
Okay.
Good
All
job.
right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks a lot.
Say hi to your wife. She's the
All
best.
right, I will. Bye-bye.